are you pre-firing, dude?
Who are you, bro?
Get out of my game. Get out of my game. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What?
Oh, got to the right. Selfed. Selfed on me, selfed on me. Let's go,
Got him.
bro.
Oh. Ah. Let's go. 20. Get a 20 bomb. With the 20.
Oh my god.
It's a fucking bullet.
Thank you. One v one. Only we had a self. Shit on him. Get him out.
Nice.
Get him out. That's why you're the goat, Yaga.
What the fuck?
Light tower. Fuck.
How are you pre-firing, dude?
Who are you, bro?
No. He's like.
Someone like that body.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! What?
Oh, guy to the right. Self. Self on me, self on me. Let's go,
Got him.
bro.
Oh! Ah! Let's go! 20. In a 20 bomb. With the 20. Get out of my game. Get out of my fucking game!
Oh, damn.
Oh my god.
He's a fucking bullet.
Thank you. Wow. 1v1. Only we had a self. Shit on him, get him out.
Nice.
Get him out. That's why you're the GOAT, Yaga.
See how the moves are.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is my Full House the Dragon episode 10 finale video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, I will be doing a bunch of bonus videos during the break between season 1 and season 2, and I will start doing more season 2 videos this week, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. Careful for spoilers for the episode if you haven't seen it yet, but we'll start at the beginning, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs and WTF moments. Starting with the episode title, it was the Black Queen, a reference to Rhaenyra when she crowns herself queen with her father Viserys' crown. Just like they now call the Greens' small council the Green Council, her small council is called the Black Council as well, because now you have the king and the queen operating at the same time during the actual Dance of the Dragons. And even though you could point to a number of different points during the season where you could say this is the start of the actual Dance of the Dragons, if you're talking about actual battles, the real start technically happens at Storm's End, like the Battle of Storm's End between Aemond and Lucerys. RIP to that special little boy, press F to pay respects. He didn't want to fight. And clearly, Aemond wasn't actually trying to kill him. I'll explain why that happened, why it went down that way when we get to that part of the episode, because it's them paying off something that Viserys was talking to Rhaenyra about in episode 1 when she was much younger, about the Targaryens' relationship to dragons. It's also a way to show you that this whole episode is basically about a classic Game of Thrones theme, like the best Game of Thrones episodes, like you're talking about the original seasons of Game of Thrones, some of the best seasons are about really great meetings, and how after everyone spends all this time having these really great meetings, things just go completely off the rails, like seeing how wrong everything goes in the most spectacularly WTF kind of way. Because this whole episode is them having a giant meeting around the map table in the map table room. It looked fantastic. I love the big glow up, literally and metaphorically, that they gave to the map table during this series. And even though it seems like Rhaenyra might avert war, like she doesn't want to rule over the Ashes, which is also something that Daenerys said during the Game of Thrones series, things go wrong in the worst possible way, because it wouldn't be otherwise in Game of Thrones. Like, it's not Game of Thrones unless things go terribly, terribly wrong for everyone. During the opening titles, there are a few minor changes that reflect the events of episodes 8 and 9. At the very start, when they show Aegon the Conqueror symbol, Matt Damon's name appears first, replacing Paddy Considine's name because he's dead, he's not on the show anymore. You also notice that Steve Toussaint is back in the opening credits because Corlys Velaryon returns in this episode. He wasn't in the last few ones. And also because of Viserys' death, because they're finally reflecting that his symbol fills with blood like the ones before it. Like each time someone dies in this line of succession as the blood flows from symbol to symbol, from father to children. Like the intro scene has been a really creative family tree, like a 3D model of their family tree on ancient Valyria because they are meant to be the blood of old Valyria. The actual opening scene is of Lucerys looking at the unlit map table by himself in the room. And this whole scene with Rhaenyra is obviously meant to foreshadow his death at the end of the episode, like he could become great one day, even though he thinks that he's not going to amount to anything. It's her telling him it's okay to be afraid, like even when I was named heir, I was afraid, I didn't think that I was ready. Also, the funny thing during their conversation, too, is that he says that she's perfect. Like, he thinks of her as a perfect person, which obviously we know isn't true, because otherwise he wouldn't have been born a bastard. Like, she breaks rules left and right. She even references that later, like, my father loved me very much and tried to help me along the way. And that's been one of the big contentious things that the Greens have come after her for. Like, her father has been protecting her this whole time, but she keeps messing up left and right. But obviously, the whole sad tone of the music over this scene is just meant to foreshadow basically the entire episode, but mostly the end of the episode. Like, the whole episode is meant to be all about loss, things that Rhaenyra loses. First, she loses her father Viserys, he dies. She also learns in the same moment that she's lost the crown and the Iron Throne, and then she loses her third child with Daemon, the girl that was named Visenya, after Aegon the Conqueror's sister wife Visenya. She also wielded Dark Sister, Daemon's Valyrian sword, so there was like a lot of meaning in them naming her Visenya. Then she loses Lucerys at the end of the episode, her second child with Harwin Strong. So the subtitle for this episode should be, how much can Rhaenyra lose in her life and still keep going? Like, how much can be taken away from Rhaenyra? So it's a very, very sad episode, even though they end the episode with that very drumbeat, drums of war version of the Game of Thrones theme song. They also start the camera on the map table on the north in Winterfell to foreshadow her conversation with Daemon about Aegon the Conqueror's dragon dream about the Long Night, A Song of Ice and Fire, and Winterfell and the Starks. Really happy to see that they're bringing the Starks back into the story. Cregan Stark, who they mentioned later in the episode, is who Jacaerys is going to treat with eventually at the beginning of Season 2 at some point. His father, Rickon, is the one that swore the oath to Rhaenyra when she was younger. During the Game of Thrones series, they name Rickon after this Rickon. And even though we don't get into a whole bunch of Winterfell stuff during this episode, they just reference it several times. Cregan Stark went through something similar is what's happening to Rhaenyra right now, where the succession of their family, like the Stark family itself, came into question, where an uncle was trying to seize power for himself and wasn't handing it to the rightful son. So Cregan is sympathetic to what's happening to Rhaenyra right now. The camera also descends through the middle of the kingdom around the Riverlands, King's Landing, Harrenhal, because as Daemon says, this area is going to be the most critical part of Westeros for them to control in the Dance of the Dragons. We meet one of the other Kingsguard for the first time. This is Laurent Marbrand. He's one of the special ones that's basically been on Rhaenyra duty. Like Alicent has Kristen Cole on her personal security detail, Rhaenyra has versions of that too. He's mostly a decent person. He's honorable, loyal to Rhaenyra, like he swears fealty to her like the other Kingsguard that are on Dragonstone at the time. He doesn't get up to any really shady stuff or anything like that. Like, he's not like Kristen Cole. He's not a terrible person or anything like that. Rhaenys then finally arrives on Meleys and explains everything that happened, her father's death, what they did with Aegon II, trying to crown him, steal her crown. And just the shock of everything causes her to miscarry. Like, it causes her to go into labor way earlier than she's supposed to. It turns into one of the most WTF scenes that we've probably ever seen on any Game of Thrones series, like the original series or this current series. The way the books recorded this event, they talk about, they kind of brush over it a little, but they take it mostly as an ill portent of things to come, like things were only going to get worse from here on out. And that's kind of the way the episode treats this scene too. Like, this is the beginning of the end, like the beginning of things getting really, really bad for everyone. Daemon is clearly upset at the loss of their child, but the thing about Daemon in this episode is they really try to make it clear in all of his scenes that he's doing everything he can to push Rhaenyra to declare war. Like, immediately after he finds out what happens, he starts theorizing that the Greens actually poisoned his brother, like he died under mysterious circumstances. They did something. There might have been a little of that, like Otto Hightower said he had all these contingency plans to kill off Rhaenyra and steal the crown no matter what. Like, they were always going to try and put Aegon II on the Iron Throne regardless of how things went down. But even if they were trying to hasten Viserys' death and keep him bedridden, that would have eventually happened no matter what. Like, his illness was so degenerative, was hurting his body so much, that even if they had been able to help a little, they would have only extended his life by a couple years. So even though during this entire episode, it seems like Daemon goes full Littlefinger, like, chaos is a ladder, let's try to thrive in chaos, which reminds me of that funny conversation that he had with Tywin where he tries to give him the same chaos as a ladder speech, and Tywin kind of claps back at him saying that that's a stupid idea.
You say that as if you were the first man alive to think it. Yes, a crisis is an opportunity. What other brilliant insights have you brought me today?
Despite Daemon doing all that, he's not totally off base, like he's a little bit correct in thinking that the Greens did something shady. And one of the other big ideas that they try to get across in all of Rhaenyra's scenes during this episode, and particularly in episode 9 as well, if it wasn't as clear, in both cases, Alicent and Rhaenyra are trying to be as cautious and measured about what they do next as possible, avert war as much as possible, because, as Rhaenyra says very plainly in the episode, she doesn't want to rule over the ashes. And in both cases, it's all the people around them that become the biggest problems, preventing them from doing what seems like the right thing to do. Like Otto Hightower has all of his plans to kill Rhaenyra and all of her family no matter what. Aemond goes full Daemon, winds up killing Lucerys. And on Rhaenyra's side, Daemon basically starts calling the war banners even though Rhaenyra specifically instructed him not to. He even chokes her out when she seems like she might accept Alicent's terms. Like, how dare you not go to war? Then they have a scene with Rhaenys that basically answers a lot of people's biggest question after the end of episode 9. Because after episode 9 came out, people are like, why didn't Rhaenys just burn all the Greens? Why didn't she kill Aegon, Alicent, all of them? The queen who didn't say burn them all. Her rationale is that there likely would have been war over this no matter what, but she didn't think that it was her place to be the one to actually fire the first shot, to be the one to actually start the war itself. And if we're talking about the actual start, I think we can call the Battle of Storm's End, like I said, Aemond versus Lucerys and Lucerys' death, the actual start. They have another crazy scene where they intercut with Rhaenyra trying to give birth to Visenya while Daemon is doing his best to completely ignore what's going on, where all the other people around the map table, like all the other lords that are there, the other members of the Kingsguard, the other regular soldiers they have on Dragonstone all talking about what they do next. You hear Rhaenyra's screams for like the next giant chunk of the episode, and all the other people just keep looking around like, hey Daemon, do you want to go maybe check on what's going on with the Rhaenyra and the Maester? And it seems like he's trying to do everything he can to just completely ignore it. He does grieve a little bit later, but it just meant to show you where Daemon's priorities are. It's also meant to be a parallel for Rhaenys taking Corlys Velaryon to task when she's like, you left me, you were a terrible husband, why did you just take off? This is kind of like Daemon's version of the same thing. Jacaerys and Lucerys' fight practice on the beach is also meant to foreshadow the end of the episode too, where Lucerys very clearly does not like fighting, like he is the opposite of Aemon, doesn't want to have anything to do with this. The Kingsguard who's helping them there is a new character we haven't seen before named Stefan Darkling, but he's one of the two Kingsguard that Daemon forces to bend the knee. The reason why Rhaenyra then reminds Jacaerys that he's heir is because she's in so much pain during this birth, and because the life expectancy of people during this era, like even this is meant to be a parallel for the medieval ages in real life, life expectancy was extremely low for women in this case. So she's actually doing a very good job as a ruler, trying to establish a clear line of authority in case something happens to her or she becomes bedridden and can't make decisions. Like they do want to show you during this episode that despite the end of the episode, she is making very calm, very measured decisions. She would be potentially a very good queen. You also notice that the boys don't call Daemon father, they call him Daemon, just to remind you that they still think of Harwin Strong as their real father, because he is. Daemon probably cared for them, but I think in the same way that he cared for Laena Velaryon. Like, he didn't actually love her, he doesn't actually genuinely love them, he just cares for them because he has to. When Daemon mentions House Darklyn, House Massey, and Bar Ammon, House Darklyn is where Stefan Darklyn comes from, Kingsguard now, one of Rhaenyra's Kingsguard. They control Duskendale, which lies here close to Dragonstone on the coast. House Massey and House Bar Ammon also control different points on this edge of the bay. All the houses that they reference are houses around the bay here, so it's them basically gaining control of the entire Narrow Sea and the entire area around the Blackwater Bay, so they cut off all support for the Greens from the east for the most part. That's why Daemon keeps saying that them controlling the Riverlands and Harrenhal in the middle here is so critical, because it's them basically boxing in the Greens on both sides. Most of the trouble that they reference that they're going to get are coming from the Westerlands because they're controlled by House Lannister, which are firmly Team Green, and any of the other houses loyal to them, like they say west of the Golden Tooth, which is also home to a place that's controlled by House Lannister in the gold mines. Most of their supporters that Rhaenyra references, like those houses, are actually towards the north, just because of their common ancestry, and like I said, in the case of the Starks, for instance, they are going through a similar experience to what's happening to Rhaenyra right now, with someone trying to take her throne from her. And even though Daemon tries to jump the gun and do what Rhaenyra told him not to do, send the Ravens out already preemptively and call the banners to war, like find out who their supporters actually are, he tries to fly Caraxes to the Tullys to secure them because they're so critical. Technically, he's not wrong in wanting to do that, because by the time Lucerys makes it to Storm's End, Aemond has already made it there, and the Baratheons were actually really critical for them to have support. Like, time's a wasted and grab as many supporters in the great houses as you can. You also notice when Daemon is making Stefan Darkling and Laurent Marbrand swear fealty, the structure behind them seems like an old house that hasn't been used in a long time, like maybe someone used it before the time of Aegon's conquest. It's just a way to remind you that Dragonstone is a very big island and we've only seen parts of it so far. And a lot of people are confused about how Caraxes seems to have this weird telepathic link with Daemon. Like, does he control the dragon telepathically? That's not exactly what's happening. Usually the strength of people's bonds with their dragons is dependent upon the strength of their own will. Daemon is a very strong-willed person, so that's not a big issue for him. But they don't actually have a real telepathic link with the dragons, like he can't give the dragon commands telepathically. When they're close enough, the dragons can pick up on their emotions and just respond to that. They can also see visual cues too, like if the person seems like they're pulling out their sword and getting really pissed off, the dragons pick up on that, like, oh, time to burn something, get ready for them to say Dracarys. There are a lot of scenes like this during the Game of Thrones series with Daenerys and her dragons. Like, if the dragons are close enough, they kind of pick up on her emotions. If something is wrong with her, they get really pissed off. But it's not like Daenerys was calling Drogon to her, like, Drogon, come to me, save me. It was more like her freaking out and Drogon sensing that, like, oh, my mother is freaking out, I need to go help her. This also sets up what happens with Aemond and Lucerys later in the episode, where Vhagar disobeys him and attacks Arrax against his direct wishes, like even when he's yelling at Vhagar, who doesn't listen to him. It's a good example of how the bond actually works between dragons and riders. Like, their bond doesn't give them absolute control over the dragons still have this fight or flight instinct that's way more powerful, this primal instinct that kicks in when they're in trouble. And for example, Vhagar was responding to Arrax blasting her with fire, so she's like, how dare somebody try to come kill me, I'm gonna go take care of that. That sort of kicks her into primal fight or flight mode, and anything else just becomes background noise to her. Like Aemon screaming at her is just background noise at that point. They use it to pay off Viserys' conversation with Rhaenyra when she was younger in front of Balerion the Black Dread's skull, saying that the Targaryens controlling dragons isn't a real thing, like that's a myth. Their power we should have never trifled with, and this is a good example. Like, Aemon doesn't actually control Vhagar, more like giving polite suggestions to Vhagar that she can choose not to listen to if she doesn't feel like it. Maybe you don't eat my nephew here. You know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna eat this dragon and your nephew. It's sort of like real life where you hear about people who keep giant exotic animals like giant tigers or lions as pets, and they eventually get mauled by those pets, even if they seem docile up to that point. During the scene of Daemon telling the Kingsguard to bend the knee, they also intercut with Rhaenyra's birthing. They also flash to scenes of Syrax reacting to Rhaenyra's birth as well. And like I said, low-level bond, Syrax is picking up on Rhaenyra's pain, which is why Syrax starts crying out. When he tells them if they turn on them later, they betray them, they'll die screaming. That's foreshadowing for future seasons, not specifically for these two Kingsguard, but just metaphorically going into the future, because this is Game of Thrones, betrayal is par for the course. And when Rhaenyra actually loses her child Visenya, it's meant to be a parallel for what happened to her mother Aemma dying in childbirth, trying to give birth to their last son. She's even wearing the exact same clothing that her mother was wearing. You also notice during the burial ceremony that Silent Sisters are standing behind them because Rhaenyra is doing it all herself. Normally they wouldn't do that, like Rhaenyra is grieving by doing this herself. During the actual burial ceremony, when they burn the body, as is the Targaryen custom, I believe they also play the same sad music track that they've used in previous episodes for similar scenes like this. I want to say they used the same music track during her mother's funeral scene. Then Eric, who had escaped from King's Landing earlier, stole her father Viserys' crown so that she could crown herself queen, and the oath that he's reciting is the traditional oath that all Kingsguard take just in general when they become one, or when a new king or queen comes along succeeding the last one. Daemon also placing the crown on her head is a parallel for him putting the crown on his brother's head previously. And while they're crowning her, they play the same theme music from episode 1 at the end where her father had been forcing everyone to bend the knee to her as a child. Then next to war, like time for our real great war planning meeting, they start checking supplies and weapons. We see them dress up the map table as Aegon the Conqueror would have when he was planning the conquest of the Seven Kingdoms. It's meant to be a parallel for that. You also have to admire how they've given this literal and metaphorical glow up to the map table, like it's the same one from the Game of Thrones series, but they've enhanced it in little ways just to make it way cooler looking. Like they use the candlelight to light it up and make it function like an actual map. Daemon then introduces her to the room for the first time using her full title as Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. When he says first of her name, that's because when you ascend the Iron Throne, you become king or queen, you actually get the number designation. So for instance, she and Daemon have a child named Aegon III, Alicent's son is named Aegon II, even Jon Snow would have been named Aegon VI had he sat on the Iron Throne. Otherwise, Jon Snow would have just been called regular old Aegon if he'd grown up in King's Landing and not taken the Iron Throne. When he says Queen of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men, those are the three major ethnic groups in Westeros. The First Men were literally the first actual humans to occupy Westeros. They came over on the land bridge about 12,000 years ago, about 2,000 years before the First Long Night. The Andals invaded Westeros about 4,000 years ago. They originally came from this northern part of Essos up here. They brought the Faith of the Seven, so that's why there's a High Septon in present day, because of the Andal influence. The people closer to the Andals in their genetic lines exist around the middle of Westeros. The people up in the north, like the Starks, Winterfell, the Arryns, mostly descend from the First Men. And then the Rhoynar are literally Nymeria and her 10,000 ships who invaded Dorne about 700 years ago. So when we talk about Nymeria and the 10,000 ships, she's a Rhoynar princess who first fought and lost a war against the Valyrian Freehold, who were expanding into their territory. She took the survivors and sailed them to what became Dorne. That's part of the reason why the Martells in Dorne have always hated the Targaryens, because the Valyrians were the whole reason why they had to leave Essos. All the people in the room here are amongst the houses that they mention are supporting them at the start here. Daemon also says that he sent word to his men in the City Watch that are still loyal to him. Remember, he created the Gold Cloaks. Even though it's been several years, some of his men still sit on the Gold Cloaks. When Maester Gerardi says that House Celtigar and House Staunton already sworn to them, they're standing in the room here like this is Bartimos Celtigar. They're actually the third house in the realm who comes from ancient Valyria. So later in the episode where they say a mysterious ship flying a green banner with a three-headed dragon on it has appeared, that's a reference to the three bloodlines that come from ancient Valyria that are in Westeros. House Targaryen, House Velaryon, and House Celtigar. But the Celtigars themselves are not dragon riders. Neither are most of the Valyrians. Some of them are, but not all of them. And like I said, all the houses they mentioned that support them initially, like right at the start here, control the northern part of the Blackwater Bay and the southern part, as well as Corlys Velaryon in Driftmark. We find out also now controls the Stepstones, which basically gives them control of the entire Narrow Sea. Massi, Bar Amon, Darklyn are the other lords who form her Black Council, like her version of the Small Council. Basically, everybody around the bay here becomes part of her Small Council. Corlys Velaryon winds up becoming her Hand of the Queen, and Mysaria becomes her Mistress of Whispers. Rhaenyra reminds us that her mother was from House Arryn, so they'll likely support them. Her mother was of Targaryen blood. She and Viserys were first cousins. Her mother was Jaehaerys' youngest daughter. Then really funny Easter egg here that you guys probably noticed with their reactions. When they say they're going to send for help from House Tully, they talk about the Lord of the House. His name is Grover Tully, as in Grover from Sesame Street. His son's name is Kermit Tully, and the son's son, like the grandson, is also named Kermit. So it just seems like George R. R. Martin is a big fan of Jim Henson, as he should be. But now we have Sesame Street and Muppets in Game of Thrones. They mention House Baratheon and Storm's End just to set up the end of the episode with Lucerys and Aemond. And what's happened during the last time jump, the last 6 years, is that Borman Baratheon, the one who actually supported her in Bent the Knee, has died and his son has become Lord of Storm's End. The reason why she's so sure that they'll support them is because of their common bloodline. Now, she references Rhaenys, but they actually go way back with the Baratheons all the way to Aegon the Conqueror. Lucerys is basically like the cousin of Boros Baratheon because Rhaenys' mother was a Baratheon. She was the sister of Boros' father. But if you remember, House Baratheon actually was created from a bastard from House Targaryen. So Ormond Baratheon, first of his name, was actually the bastard half-brother of Aegon the Conqueror. They were great friends growing up. And after he defeated Argilac Durrandon in the Stormlands during the War of Conquest, Aegon basically gave him the Stormlands, and that created House Baratheon. Robert Baratheon during the main Game of Thrones series is also part Targaryen through his grandmother's side. So he was cousins with Daenerys and Jon Snow, even though he didn't know that. Then when Bartimos Celtigar mentions all their dragons and Daemon starts talking about numbers like, here's how many we control versus the Greens. Currently their side has access to 13 with potentially more in the future to the Greens 4 with potentially the Greens getting more in the future as well too. Remember, everyone inside the actual nuclear royal families are dragon riders, but some of the youngest ones who are just born recently are too young to actually ride dragons, which is why the numbers aren't higher. But the big idea is that Rhaenyra has access to more than 3 times as many dragons as the Greens do, which gives them more power theoretically. They have Daemon and Rhaenyra's dragons, Caraxes and Syrax, Jacaerys and Lucerys' dragons Vermax and Arax. Baby Joffrey has a dragon called Taraxes, which Daemon mentions. Baela's dragon is named Moondancer. Rhaena doesn't have one yet, but she'll get one eventually. Rhaenys has melees, and as Daemon says, they have access to several more, like Sea Smoke. Laena's dragon still resides on Driftmark, but is currently riderless. Silverwing and Vermithor were Alysanne and Jaehaerys' former dragons who've gone riderless since they died. Vermithor is also the largest, oldest dragon in the kingdom next to Vhagar, which is why he's such a huge asset, metaphorically and literally. In all, 3 wild dragons roost on Dragonstone currently, but they're only able to claim one of them eventually. It's Cannibal, Grey Ghost, and Sheepstealer. So now there's this mad dash to find anybody, bastards and all, who have a little bit of Targaryen blood, just enough to bond with dragons, because they have more dragons than they have actual riders right at the moment. So when we say they're going to introduce more dragon seeds in Season 2, it's just people that are capable of riding dragons. Currently, the Greens only have access to Aemon's dragon, Vhagar, Aegon II's dragon, Sunfire, and Helena's dragon, Dreamfire. But remember, Helena has 2 children, at least right here, who are old enough will be able to ride dragons soon, and a third potentially. Daemon's main plan, initially at least, is to invade Harrenhal and use it as their main base of operations because it's so centralized. They don't really address that after this in the episode, so I'm assuming that'll be one of the earliest WTF battles they have at the beginning of Season 2. Because you also remember the Curse of Harrenhal, strange things befall the people who hold Harrenhal. Also, it's a parallel for Aegon and the Conquest burning Harrenhal. So when Daemon summons Vermithor and he breathes all this fire, like a very extended fire-breathing sequence, it's like them foreshadowing him taking Vermithor to burn Harrenhal as they take it. And because Larys Strong, Lord Weirdo Foot, holds the castle, it's not like they have any moral quandary with them sieging the castle. The whole scene on the bridge with Otto Hightower is meant to be a parallel for their standoff in episode 2, Rhaenyra appearing the same way she did before, averting disaster. Like, it seemed like Daemon probably would have tried to kill Otto if Rhaenyra hadn't showed up, just like he would have done back during episode 2. You notice when Otto is reading Alicent's terms to her, Alicent's words describe Jacaerys and Lucerys as their true-born sons, meaning if she accepts her terms, all the Greens will stop it with all the Strong Boys stuff. They'll be allowed to keep Dragonstone, Driftmark, and their family lines, but they have to give up all claims to the Iron Throne. And even though it seems like she might accept it and they might avert war, you remember, Otto Hightower had no plans to let things go through this way. He was going to kill Rhaenyra and her family any chance he got, no matter what. It's another example of how Alicent and Rhaenyra try to solve things sensibly, but everybody around them, like Daemon on Rhaenyra's side and Otto Hightower on Alicent's side, try to do everything they can to burn the realm to the ground. When Daemon says he'd rather feed their sons to a dragon, that foreshadows Lucerys' death at the end of the episode, because that's pretty much what happens to Lucerys. He's basically eaten by Vhagar because when the pieces of Arrax are falling into the sea, you don't see any of Lucerys' bits. Vhagar is so big, though, it'd be like being eaten by a house. Otto Hightower also mentions Storm's End. They've sent ravens already. They've sent Aemon, just foreshadowing the end of the episode. When they mention the Tullys, too, the Tullys are a bit like what's going on in Storm's End. Like, it's a situation where you have half the family that support the Greens and the other half that supports Rhaenyra. So there's a big question as to which side that they'll go with, but obviously they're leaving that for Season 2. Then he gives her the page of the history book that Rhaenyra tore out the day that she and Alicent had been reading in the Godswood when they were younger. So despite all the acrimony between them, everything that happened across the years, it's meant to be a symbol of their relationship. Alicent had kept it this whole time. Like, there'd always been a chance that they'd eventually make up, which they kind of did at the end of episode 8, but then obviously things go completely off the rails. The page is what makes Rhaenyra actually consider accepting Alicent's terms, even though Daemon chokes her out for it. The actual page was all about Princess Nymeria, the 10,000 ships, and her invasion of Dorne. It was meant to be a parallel for Rhaenyra, like a powerful woman queen, because Nymeria wound up becoming the first queen of Dorne. Arya's direwolf is also named after her. So she's like the most famous woman in the history of Westeros next to Daenerys, although Daenerys is more infamous than famous for obvious reasons. But you get the parallel here, like they're trying to make you wonder, based on what happens in this episode and what will eventually happen in the Dance of the Dragons with this scorched earth policy. Will what happens with Rhaenyra be more like what happened with Daenerys, or will it be more like Princess Nymeria conquering Dorne? Also, zoom in and enhance on the page here. The actual text of this page about Nymeria talks about her fleet dispersing during the first storm sweeping the coast. You could call that foreshadowing for the storm at Storm's End that Lucerys dies in at the end of the episode with Aemon and Vhagar. And when she says she'll give them her answer tomorrow, had Lucerys not been killed by Aemon, they want you to think that she probably would have accepted the terms. Like, it's Lucerys' death that catalyzes her to call for a full-blown war in the actual start of the Dance of the Dragons, which is why the War Drums music starts beating at the end of this, like the War Drums version of the Game of Thrones theme song. And I'm sure Aemon is going to regret his actions along with all the other terrible stuff most people will do on both sides through the rest of the conflict in future seasons. Like, it's full-on scorched earth. The phrase that she mentioned to Daemon earlier is very important. I don't want to rule over the ashes, and when dragons go to war, everything gets burned. Daemon talking about dragons killing other dragons, dragon slaying, is more foreshadowing for the end of the episode. You could also say it's foreshadowing for the rest of the Dance of the Dragons just in general too, because there's going to be so many dragon battles. And when she talks to him about Aegon's prophecy, you also notice that she's standing near the north of the table, right near the actual wall, the frozen north, the lands of always winter. And we find out that Viserys never told Daemon about Aegon's prophecy of A Song of Ice and Fire, The Long Night, the White Walkers. So even though Daemon understands what dragon dreams are, he knows that they exist. It sounds like he's just trying to ignore everything she says as nonsense because he wants war so badly. I'm really interested to see with his character in future seasons if they pay this moment off in some interesting way, with Daemon getting his comeuppance, so to speak, by learning about the White Walkers the hard way. Like he either gets turned into a White Walker or a White or something like that, something similar, because the books never fully explain what happened to Daemon at the end of the Dance of the Dragons. They just say that he disappeared, quote unquote, after his final fight. So it just leaves a lot of room for the show to pay off his ending in some really creative, epic way. You can let me know in the comments, like, what do you think will eventually happen to Daemon at the end? Like, will he get turned into a White or a White Walker or something like that? We finally get to see Corlys Velaryon come back, and Rhaenys has it out with him, basically taking him to task for being a terrible husband. You kind of expect a version of this with Rhaenyra and Daemon at some point too, like where Rhaenyra is actually like, you're a terrible partner for me. He wants to pack it all up, go back to Driftmark, and just secure his house. Like, we need to take care of our own to ensure the survival of our house. The reason why they can't do that is because he wants Lucerys to take Driftmark eventually, and the Greens have vowed to kill all of Rhaenyra's family. And at least initially he declares for Rhaenyra, and they get Rhaenys in melees as well, because obviously she comes with her husband. But it's very clear that Corlys does not like Rhaenyra, so keep an eye on him long term. Also, a big surprise, turns out he didn't know what happened to his brother during episode 8 while he was recovering. That's also the reason why Daemon makes himself scarce when Corlys comes to Dragonstone. Like, where's Daemon? Oh, he had stuff to do. He's busy somewhere else. Just because it probably wasn't a good idea for him to be standing there when Corlys walked in if they wanted his support. When Bartimos Celtigar suggests laying siege to the Red Keep, that's meant to be a parallel for Daenerys burning King's Landing, sieging King's Landing, but it takes a long time for that to actually happen. So that'd be like the end of season 2, maybe the end of season 3. They send all the kids off in different directions to treat with the great houses to see whose support they can get, and her telling them not to fight is just to set up the Aemon versus Lucerys fight, where he refuses to fight, tries to fly away, and despite their best efforts, even Aemon and Lucerys' efforts, the dragons go at it. These 3 dragons that are flying off are Arax and Vermax, the boys' dragons, and Rhaenys on melees, who said she was going to go patrol the gullet. Daemon goes to the dragon caves on Dragonstone, singing a Valyrian song, summoning Vermithor, like I said, biggest, oldest dragon next to Vhagar, and the fact that he blows so much fire here, probably just foreshadowing their siege of Harrenhal, using him just like Aegon the Conqueror used Balerion the Black Dread to burn Harrenhal. Great way to stick it to Larys Strong too, even though they don't know about all the weird feat stuff. When Lucerys arrives at Storm's End, we get the best look at the exterior of the castle they've ever given us. I love the foreshadowing of Vhagar in the background, just to give you a sense and scale of the dread. Like, the whole part of the episode kind of turns into more of a horror story than a thriller. The weather in the Stormlands is also usually like this, that's why they call it the Stormlands. We meet Boros Baratheon for the first time, then they have this funny moment real briefly where he gives them the message, and they imply that Boros can't read, like he gets really upset when he looks at the note. Someone bring the Maester, because the Maester has to read it and explain it to him. Even though it seems weird that someone so highborn as him can't read, that's not unusual for medieval times. And books, for instance, were extremely expensive and valuable, which is why it was such a big deal that Rhaenyra ripped the page out of that one book that Alicent kept. You have to imagine that most of the realm is actually illiterate.
Can you read? Everyone? Can you read?
Even though he seems really prickly, his major objection to their message is mostly that they don't offer him anything, like a marriage to his daughters or something else. Like, he just wants some form of payment from Rhaenyra, some tribute, which the Greens did offer. Even though he doesn't say it, they imply that because Aemond is standing next to one of his daughters here, they pledged Aemon's hand in marriage to one of his daughters. Aemond goes full-on Daemon, chaos is a ladder, and won't let him leave without pushing for a fight, wanting a chance at revenge, an eye for an eye, calling him a strong boy, telling him to take his eye out just like they did back in the past, revealing the sapphire eye that now sits in the place of the one that he lost. This is also right out of the books, like he had a sapphire fake eye. And like I said earlier, I don't think Aemond wanted to kill him, he just wants to see him experience some pain and toy with him in a really sadistic kind of way. Clearly, things got out of hand. That's why I said earlier, they pay off Viserys' earlier comment about them not really being able to control dragons. Because even though Lucerys tries to fly away, like he just tries to get away as fast as possible, it seems like when Arax attacked Vhagar, that was him going rogue. It wasn't Lucerys telling him to attack Vhagar. Then it triggers Vhagar's fight or flight response, who goes after Arax, and Lucerys dying is just collateral damage of that. It's just an unfortunate side effect. But now we get to see how Daemon and Rhaenyra are going to respond to that. Like they said, they're going to give the Greens their response on the morrow. Their response is probably going to be something really crazy. Daemon is probably going to go off the chain with his revenge. Their whole chase scene, his death scene, was also great too, so
Can't wait to
RIP,
see.
press F to pay respects. Too bad we'll have to wait till the beginning of season 2 to actually see them pay off their revenge. But overall, it was a great episode, great finale. I felt like they did a good job of wrapping things up and pushing into season 2. It felt a lot like the older seasons, the original seasons of Game of Thrones. If you spotted any other big Easter eggs or references in the episode that I didn't talk about in the video or big questions, just write them below in the comments, and I'll do a big top 10 WTF predictions video for season 2 next. You can click here for that. I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here for all my other House of the Dragon videos. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Oh, okay.
Morning, even afternoon, we got a banger for y'all today, baby. What we got for you here is an explanation as to why I'm probably not going to be streaming a ton of MW2. I'll let the video speak for itself. All I'll say is if you do enjoy this, drop a like, share it with a friend, sub, ring the bell. Most importantly, be sure to tell us about it. You love them. All right, I'll catch you in the next one. When Modern Warfare comes out next week, guys, I'm going to be here. Can I be completely honest with you, though? Fully transparent. I will probably stream MW2 for a day. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm going to grind off stream. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm gonna get those camos. I'm gonna get that mastery camo. But I can't stream multiplayer. Here, the biggest thing for me, and this means I've always said this, bro. If I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, I can't stream it. And I personally, the only reason I play any multiplayer off stream, hashtag time in, the only reason is for the camos. The only thing that I will say that I enjoy in multiplayer is S&D. That is kind of fun for me. Like respawn, hardpoint, just dying, going. I can't, I don't know what it is, guys, but after streaming battle royales for majority of my career, I'll throw that in air quotes, that's what I really love streaming. Can I be completely honest with you guys? If SBMM wasn't a thing, I would stream multiplayer. SBMM, I've said this before and I'll say it again, man. SBMM is I dare say killing video games as a whole. I don't want to get on a huge SBMM tangent here. We don't have to do this, okay? But it literally, I am playing against Giga Sweats with no rating, and then John comes in with, you know, his binky in his mouth, and John's like, wow, you're ass. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm playing against guys that have like a 1.5 or a 2 or a 3 KD, and John's playing against 0.02. At the bare minimum, if you're going to put I don't know how, I don't understand. Let me give you, here, ready? Watch this. I'm going to draw you guys a graph. Ready for this? Here's my graph. Okay, ready? Quick play. Ranked. Okay. SBMM. No. SBMM. How hard is this? You guys like my chart here? This is it. I don't understand. It's a graph. This is a graph. I don't understand how video game companies don't understand this right here. You see this? This is my graph. You guys like my graph? If there is a quick play that is just general, you just hop in and you have fun. No SBMM, let them just get into a pot. Everything mixes together. You might have a demon in there. You might have a bot in there. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's quick play. If we want SBMM, we play ranked, where we have a rating system that says, oh, we're this level and this level of people are who I'm playing against, not the bots because they're not at this level. I don't understand why billion-dollar companies can't look at this and be like, oh, and okay. And maybe it's just an entire like mentality shift. But when I was growing up, I'll tell you guys this, man. When I was growing up, if someone killed me in MW2 that was max level prestige, fully camoed out, and like a good player, I'd be like, holy shit, that guy's a legend. And to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of people that would feel the same way. I don't understand why this concept is so hard for them to understand. It's so simple. Quick play should not be skill-based matchmaking because it's quick play. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if I run into a bot and I you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm shitting on him. You know what I mean? It doesn't fucking matter because there's no rank bot. Who cares? You know what I mean? I can't have fun playing MW2 while SBMM is in quick play. I can't enjoy it. What I mean by that is I have to run meta. I'll throw that in air quotes. I have to run good guns because everyone else is using the good fucking guns. If I want to run around with the sniper and have some fun, I can't fucking do that because everyone else is jump peeking corners, learning how to slide cancel glitch, and it's a sweat fest for no reason. And the problem with it is it's not fun because there's no reward for it. That's why you have ranked mode. So, I'm a fucking idiot. Guys, I thought you can literally, okay, I didn't technically think you could dig to the ocean. I said it wrong. I didn't listen. Okay. I didn't technically think that you can dig to the ocean. I thought you could dig to water. I misspoke. Okay. But my point here stands. Okay. I thought I could dig far enough. I thought Hawaii was floating. I think that's kind of all I have to say. Like, I'm pretty stupid. Now that I really think about it, of course, Hawaii's not floating around in the ocean, right? It has to be anchored somewhere. But at the end of the day, it did kind of cross my mind that Hawaii's probably floating. But like, I have that kind, like, that's how my brain works, bro. And even I can understand the issue with skill-based matchmaking. So that kind of scares me because I'm a fucking idiot. Okay. I've always been, I have never tried to hide the fact that I am stupid. It is painful how dumb I was. School was very hard for me growing up. It was like, I'm an idiot, but I can see how SBMM is ruining video games, ruining casual, and I dare say ranked as well, because it's like, who's going to play fucking ranked when you're ranked everywhere? I can't. I want to sit down with someone who's an advocate for SBMM everywhere. And I want to sit down with like someone that runs a video game, whoever's decision that is. And I want to sit there and I want them to explain to me why there should be SBMM in both levels of a ranked system and a quick play system. Because if you want SBMM, that skill-based matchmaking, that's your fucking ranked mode, okay? And if you want to just have some fun with the boys, right? This shouldn't be so hard. You want to have some fun, go play quick play with your friends. A lot of you say it's because of money. I don't get that. I don't get it. Because me personally right now, flat out, I'm telling you guys this, just like complete transparency. I just don't have fun playing quick play in Modern Warfare. I don't have fun. The only reason I play it, hashtag time in, only reason I play it is for the camos. That's it. It's the only reason. There's no fun there for me. It's not because I'm having fun. I play that because I borderline have to get the camos. That's why I'm playing it. But I remember, and I bring this up a lot. A lot of people think I'm just, you're just jaded because you played MW2. Modern Warfare 2, 2008, multiplayer, no SBMM, nothing like that. That was peak Call of Duty pubs. I could get shit on. I had fun. You had people running the what Matrodom. I can't even fucking say that word. Like, dude, like that was peak fun. I was having fun because there was so much just random shit going on. There's not everyone using the same fucking loadout, the same gun, trying to jump over corners and clip and I'll say clip streamers and shit like that and like get clips like that. People are just having fucking fun, man. We're just having fun. I would run around with the noob tube and that was it. Just having a fucking blast, man. You know what I mean? It was fun. We had fun. It was peak. And now multiplayer in most games. I'm not even just going to say Call of Duty here. There's no arena shooter kind of just deathmatch mode that I enjoy playing anymore. And the funny part is everyone always says the same thing. And not everyone. There's a ton of you that agree with me and I see it. But there are some people in chat right now saying all these streamers want to do is shit on bots. That's not the fucking case. I don't care if I get 50 kills. You think I'm the kind of content creator where I'm like, oh man, I almost dropped 50. That's not fucking me, bro. I can't do fun things in video games anymore because SBMM. I can't fucking do it. Bro, you know how I said I didn't want to get on a tangent? And here I am, 16 minutes in. This is boring. I'm out. Master Chief 2.0 whips. Can you ban him? He has a fucking, just get like he has a Halo name in 2022. And meanwhile, the new Halo game has 15 people playing, and he's probably 14 of them on alt accounts. Get the fuck out of here, bro. That's the kind of right. That's the guy right there, right? Oh, dude, I'm fine. Man, needless to say, needless to say, I will definitely be playing DMZ. I will definitely be, let me rephrase. I want to play DMZ. I'm actually really interested in that and really interested in trying it out. I'm 100% going to stream that. Hopefully I love it. I don't know. That could suck. Who knows? I'm 100% going to stream Warzone 2, but I will probably stream MW2 multiplayer unless I set up something I'm doing with certain friends to do S&D troll lobbies or something like that for about a day. I'll put the hashtag time in, grind some camos off stream. But I can't stream it. I don't have fun. And I'm not going to stream something I'm not having fun doing. It'll be fun the first day. After the first day though, I'll probably be good. I'm really going to enjoy the first couple games before my SBMM absolutely just ruins my time. So what if I just suck the whole time and just reverse boost? Maybe that's it. Maybe I just suck the entire, I just fucking suck. And I run in a straight line for a game and shoot into the air. And then the next game, maybe I'll get a good, maybe maybe that's how I got to fucking do it. I just left click in the air for one whole game and just get shit on. And then next game, actually just play and kind of have some fun. And then the game after that, look up in the sky and shoot the air again. Someone just donated this and I'm just going to read it and then I'm probably going to stop unless this gets me going again. SBMM protects the average player from higher skilled players and promotes their engagement in long term, increasing the likelihood they'll spend money on the game. Also, Tim, no one plays games for fun anymore. It's 2022. And maybe it's just gaming as a whole. Like we all just took a shift, right? We don't have fun anymore. People play to be professional. People play for content. Maybe that's it. I still don't get it though.
Play for content,
really
but
don't.
also have fun.
And let me put it to you
content.
this way. If I was
Actually,
a
I have more
younger
fun now
kid
than I've ever
playing Modern Warfare, let me just throw me back to like when I was 16, 17 years old playing Modern Warfare pubs, right?
Personally.
If I was a kid playing Modern Warfare pubs and I got killed, if I got shit on by a streamer or a YouTuber or someone that I knew, I would like that. Would you guys not? Because I mean, what are the odds that I'm in a game with like Nick Merckx?
I hate when it's smaller people that do it.
So like that's what I don't get. That's why I'm like, how does that protect them? Because it's like, I don't know. But just to be clear, man, that's the reason you guys probably aren't going to see me stream MW2 a ton as far as just multiplayer goes. I'm going to play the campaign. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'll definitely play launch day, but after that, man, until Warzone 2 or DMZ, I'm probably not going to be streaming MW2 pubs. I can't. I don't know. At the end of the day, and this is just bottom line for me, I do not enjoy playing it for hours and hours on end, and I can't do it, and I'm not going to do it. And I'll just play some fucking, I'm actually having fun with Overwatch 2. Shit. At least in Overwatch 2, I got a rank to flex. What's going on? Gold 3, baby. And if I'm completely honest with you guys too, just flat out, if you look at like, this fucking tangent, man, holy shit. If you look at it from an analytical standpoint as well, numbers in general are lower just on multiplayer games. I would say with the exception of a couple people who just can do it so well. Jev is one of those people, man. Jev knows how to turn that and make it watchable. I can sit there and watch Jev play multiplayer. I have tried to watch myself back play multiplayer, like watch my own stream. It was fucking ass. All I was doing was yelling. And I was like, this is fucking stupid. Bottom line is, I don't really have fun with it. I'm not going to stream it. If I'm having fun, and who knows, dude, maybe something will happen to me. And I played Modern Warfare 2 on, when does it come out? The 20 whatever. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm having a blast. And I end up streaming it. But I mean, here's what I'll say. I played that beta. I was done with streaming that beta after 1 or 2 days. So, all right. No tangent, by the way, guys.
Any news? Oh, J God, you got anything?
So for a long-range weapon, we actually have the most weapons I think we've ever included. There's going to be 14 weapons in today's video, as well as talking about them in terms of Caldera, Fortune's Keep, and Rebirth Island, depending on your individual preferences. We'll be looking at the muzzle velocity, which is pretty important. Rate of fire, a little bit less important. Mag size, damage per mag go hand in hand, are a huge determining factor of how good a gun could be in higher game modes. And then we got the practical TTK, which we'll touch on, but some of these do have a little bit slower practical TTK. And then behind my cam, we'll go ahead and even talk about Warzone pick rate, as well as the overall KD of the players picking that. But before we dive deeper, we do have a sponsor. Today's because then it just causes people to jump ship to another thing. MX Silencer, the Bernard 2.5, the Mercier, tight grip on hand, hatch, 100 round lengthened with strife angled. Then we got the Gorenko, which sat at the best TTK there at 1.3, which is crazy. We've never had a sniper be that high in terms of KD. We got Mercury, Empress, 3D6X or one of the other optics, reinforced stock, discard on hand stippled 10 round mag with the FMJ or bipod. And what some people are doing because they don't like the slow ADS, you could actually just drop the mag entirely and you'll be left with the 5 round mag. And this does speed up the aim down sight time. So hopefully you guys are ready for Modern Warfare 2. I'm going to have tons of content related to the campaign and the full game leading up to Warzone 2. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.
Nice. All right. Let us begin. I enjoyed watching all the videos this morning. Very informational in a lot of things. Feel like we've learned a lot. Learned a lot today. Let's see how Warzone's feeling. I'm not gonna lie, man. I am not wanting to hop on and play Warzone. Kinda like, I'm so ready to delete this game. I truly am. I'm ready to Warzone 1. Literally, the only thing I'm gonna miss is if they don't add it, is Rebirth. Rebirth type mode. Literally it. Anything else on this? There's nothing on Cali that I'll miss. I mean, shit, I want Verdansk back, so. I don't know. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Move. Ah, it failed. But I didn't change the just chatting. I'm not focused.
I need 2
Say, man,
peas.
go ahead and get 2 peas of that shit right now. He said, pull up on him.
But I only got half the money.
He said he only got half the money.
I'm bullshit. One of these niggas got cut like that, shooting people and shit. So one of these niggas got cut like that, trying to shoot people and shit.
Say what, girl?
How many niggas that shot me? God damn. Yo. Huh? What triple K? I had no damn shit.
Ah.
Oh, you know. Oh, the gym. Oh, fine ball. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, 32. You got small though. Just take time while you Yeah. Time when you get there. Yeah, just FaceTime me when you get there. I'll show you. Alright.
Squad member is redeploying. Enemy
Who will cover you? Purple. I'm coming to you. Oh shit. Got some shit on there. Damn, boy, y'all done shot my motherfucking shit. Oh, you done shot my shit from all the way.
Oh shit. Man, fuck.
My God, what? My gun that is cool.
Why didn't I let me get the motherfucker? Oh. Oh shit.
Fuck out of here, boy. Out there, give me that kill.
Bro, that was hit reg. Oh my God, SDM hit reg at its finest right there. Wow. There is no way that guy got me. But I died to those dudes, man.
See him.
Bro, they have hit reg.
God damn it.
Oh, what did they do?
Oh, what?
Say, mama, you can land up here or not? On the ground. Appreciate you. I'm with you. Down one of them. That's good, we're good. Too much.
Oh my kills actually died, bro. Two dudes, sweaties.
Boy, that boy shooting some shit.
Training's over. Time to see what you've learned.
think we should grab a loadout. Fuck, we don't have enough. Oh yeah, we do. Jaeger and green, orange. Let me get your money, bro. Thank you. We need green's money too. Shit, where's green?
I'm paying attention. Okay, then. Here's my man.
Never mind. Got it. Your teammates suck.
One of your allies is back in the game.
Damn, niggas just trying to get some kills for look.
I just so happened to be there, to be honest.